Good evening, everyone. This is Malcolm Peters on Sunday, the 17th of September, 2017, and it's our weekly Sunday evening GPG call. I'm your host today, calling in from a place called Heathrow near West London. Interesting day today. It's a little bit cloudy, almost winter upon us, so I can't wait to leave this place on my travels again. Calling in from a place called Heathrow, and that's me on my other screen to make sure that I can see who is joining us on the call. We're just going to prepare the call, make sure that as you come online, please introduce yourselves, your first names who you're calling on, so I can see you on the chat box. Welcome to our call, Jean-Claude Salil, calling in from France. Excellent, nice to have you online. Margaret DeMay, welcome to the call from Holland. Excellent. We've got, I'm not sure it's a Greek name, so I can't see the name, unfortunately. Haralampos, welcome to the call from Athens. We've got a really, really exciting call lined up today, so I'm looking forward to introducing you to some fantastic guests. As you're all aware, for those of you who are new, watching this for the first time, either on video format or have been invited to this call, this is our weekly call, and we do this call for three main reasons. First of all, it's a call to get new people to look at the fabric of our training infrastructure where we can talk to people worldwide. Sapphires and above come on this call and share information to help our teams worldwide. Second, it's very important for brand new people to come on board to get information for growth. And third, it's important for recognition and to make sure that the Sapphires and above who are in our organizations can share information with you to help you to build your businesses. So as you come online, please introduce yourselves, your first names, where you're calling from. We're going to get the call started in exactly a minute's time. I'm very excited today because we've got a smaller panel than usual, but a quality panel as always. And one of our star guests is one of the founders of our organization, Paula Pritchard, who's calling in at this moment in time from Florida as well. So as you come online, please introduce yourselves, your first names, where you're calling from. Maria, welcome to the call from Athens. Great to have you online. Duchess Daly, that's Andrea Honey calling from Cyprus. Hi, welcome to the call. Eleanor, welcome to the call from Greece, from Athens. As you come online, please introduce yourselves, your first names, where you're calling from, to make sure that you can talk to us or you can chat. Log into Google that allows you to use the chat feature that we've got here. But what I'd say to yourselves also is please don't start conversations on the side because they're very distracting for myself and for the speakers as well. If you've got any questions or points for clarification, you can ask those questions at the end of this call. As you come online, please do introduce yourselves. Leah, welcome to the call from Holland in Rotterdam. Who else has joined the call? We've got about a minute before we get started. Okay, so we've got Eleanor's in Athens at the moment. Wonderful thing about this call is many times we have people from all over the world calling in, from India, we've got people from Brazil, we've had people from the Philippines. It allows people to sit at home, have a hot cup of coffee or tea, make sure that you have plenty of paper and a pen, great notes that you're going to be taking tonight from some of the great speakers that I've got online. I'm going to get the call started in about 30 seconds time, so get yourself settled. Last call, anyone else who's joined us, please introduce yourselves, your first names, where you're calling from. The call itself will be available on YouTube straight after we finish the call. But ideally, we prefer people to come on live because we can't guarantee the recording is going to be a good recording and it's going to be live as well. So let's settle ourselves in. We got, sorry, a couple more people have joined us. We got Beshara, who's calling in from South Africa. Hi, Beshara, welcome to the call. We got Lazads calling in from Greece as well. A lot of people calling in from Greece tonight and from South Africa. Octavia, welcome to the call from South Africa. Emil, welcome to the call from South Africa. Excellent. International call. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce, hi, Paula.
Okay. I just want to make sure you can see me. I couldn't see myself.
No, absolutely fine. I was just going to say, impromptu there. It's my pleasure and my privilege tonight to introduce you to a very, very special lady. This lady is my sponsor, a friend of mine for now coming on to a lot longer than we care to talk about. It's actually from 1992 that I first met Paula Pritchard. Paula Pritchard is a diamond in our organization. She's the founder of Global Partners Group, and I'm thrilled and excited to have her on this call. But I have to share with you before we introduce her to the story behind us and what we're doing in this business. Paula and I have worked together on various projects over a period of time, and we've got to know each other really well. I consider her to be my best friend and really my gatekeeper, because you need someone like her to protect my back, because I am a little loud and vociferous at times. And Paula sent me an email, and this email said, Malcolm, are you networking? I still have that email, and when I go diamond, I've made an assurance that I'm going to show that email on stage. And I wrote back to her and I said, I am now. What are we doing? I didn't question what it was, what she was up to, because my sponsor and my friend has got incredible integrity. And I knew that whatever she was doing, I had to be a part of it. It's completely transformed my life over the last 3 years. It'll be 3 years exactly that I'm involved with this company on a full-time basis in January of 2018. So without further ado, I have my sponsor, Diamond Director, Paula Pritchard, who's going to be talking to you about making a living versus designing a life. Paula Pritchard, calling in from Florida. Paula.
Malcolm, thank you so much. I love working with you because it's, you know, there's so many things that we think alike, and when we don't think alike, we can always go back and forth. But, you know, you're a great leader, and you do a great job on these calls. And these calls have made an amazing difference in people's businesses. And you know, if you're serious about building a business, you always need a well to drink from. You always need a place where you can go that you can recharge your battery. And, you know, we all have ups and downs. We all have, you know, issues with life interfering, you know, all the time, you know. But the bottom line is the fact that, you know, we can always go to our upline or our upline's upline. You know, I don't care how many uplines you have to go to find the person you relate to. When I first got in network marketing, my sponsor quit 2 weeks into it. And then his sponsor quit about, I think it was about 2 months or something like that down the road. And then I went to my third sponsor up, which was a guy who was a professor at the university. He was a colleague of mine. And it wasn't anyone I could relate to. And then I went to the fourth person up to get help. And he was an insurance salesman, and he was very scattered. You know, I tell people, I don't know back then if they knew what ADD was, but he had it. And, you know, I finally went to the fifth person up line because I wanted the business so bad. And I had made a decision based on this could be something where I could design an incredible life. And so I wasn't willing to let that die just because the person who sponsored me had chose a different direction for themselves. And I think that's a really good lesson. I didn't realize what a lesson it was until later on when I look at people and I think, you know, you get in the business, your upline leaves or quits, and all of a sudden you give up, or you use that as an excuse as to not to build it, instead of occurring to yourself to keep climbing the ladder until you find someone upline that you can relate to, someone that can inspire you, someone that is on the same track, someone that can give you input, ideas, and education of this business. And one of the best pieces of advice I received early on was learn from the person who is where you want to be. Well, the person that was 5 levels up was what was called a Ruby in that business. And he was very different from me. His name was Harold Miller. And Harold Miller was a man who worked at Goodyear Tire and Rubber in a factory for 25 years. Now, I was teaching at a university. You know, I was highly educated. You know, Harold had went right from high school right into a factory job. And so we were very different as far as our backgrounds, but he was the kindest man. He was so helpful to me in building a business. And I have to tell you, he'd come home from work at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. He'd take a shower. He'd put on a suit. He'd have dinner with his wife and 6 children. And then he would get in the car and come and do meetings for me at my house. And he, you know, or he would go somewhere with me to do a meeting. And I loved Harold so much that when I wrote my book, Owning Yourself, I dedicated it to him. And Harold, what I love about Harold, and I didn't really mean to talk about Harold, but I'm glad I have the opportunity. What I love about Harold is he didn't let ego get in the way. In other words, he would help take me to where he was in the business. Then he passed me off to his sponsor, who could take me the rest of the way. And so that was a very generous person that could push their ego aside and let me grow to whatever levels I could be. And his sponsor was a diamond in that business. And of course, I became a diamond. And you know, that it was just, it's a wonderful thing. So if anything comes out of that particular story, I hope what comes out of it is it encourages you to take responsibility for your own success. You know, you might have a sponsor that quit. You might have a sponsor that you don't relate to at all. That's okay. Find someone upline that you relate to. You know, find someone who you can connect with to build your business. Don't sit there and moan and groan because somehow or another you feel that you can't work with this person that introduced you to the business. That's why you have a line of sponsorship. What I wanted to talk about this evening has to do with the idea of, you know, creating a source of income, like making a living, versus designing a life. And, you know, many people out there I don't think have really put much thought to this, but if money was not an issue and you could design the life that you wanted, even if it took you 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, to have the wherewithal to have this particular life that you designed, what kind of life would you design? What kind of life would you create? I mean, you know, many of us, you know, we're in our jobs and some of us hate them, some of us tolerate them. Some people maybe like the job, but they're barely making ends meet. They're barely paying their bills. There's not a whole lot left over. We always call it having more months than you have money. And so, you know, and it's almost like, well, that's what our neighbors do. That's what their neighbors do. That's what my friend does. And so we settle for this because it's what everybody else is doing. It's like we settle for this place of mediocrity and instead of this place that we really, really dream of having. I mean, you got this great life, and I can't imagine living the next 60 years, 70 years, 80 years in mediocrity, settling for what you think is okay because everybody else is settling for it. I'm talking about designing the ultimate life. And so I asked you, I say, you need to kind of sit down and think, what would that look like? What would be designing your own life? What would that look like? You know, and maybe this is something you want to sit down and plan with, you know, a tablet of paper or your family and say, you know, to each member of your family, you know, include your children, what would your life be like if you could design it any way you want? And, you know, I was thinking about this, you know, like what would your house look like? What would the car you drive be like? What would the schools that you send your children, what would they be like? I mean, this takes a lot of time and thought, but I mean, people spend more time planning their vacation or their holiday than they ever do planning their whole life. So what if it took you a week to sit down and calculate and figure, talking to every family member, really thinking through what kind of trips would you take? What kind of you know, vacations would you design? Would you design them every summer? What kind of hobbies would you have? What like if you loved a certain soccer team or football team or you know, if you're North American baseball team, whatever, if you love that, wouldn't it be, and you were a fan, wouldn't it be great to be able to attend the games, to have a box where you had food and you could take all your friends and you could go to these games? I mean, really get into it and really enjoy it. You know, what kind of would you have a second home? Would you live in a high rise overlooking a beautiful city or a beautiful harbor? Would you have a cabin in the woods? You know, when you look at the picture behind me is this beautiful cabin in the woods with these gorgeous mountains. I believe they're the Tetons, and one of my favorite mountain ranges. They're in Wyoming, and I visualize that because that's the kind of place that I want. I love wildlife. I love being out in the wild. In fact, I'm looking at some things I surround myself with. This is part of my design for my life. This is an elephant sanctuary, a rescue facility. It's in Tennessee, It's south of Nashville. I donate. I help fund this sanctuary for these elephants. I'm getting ready to send them a big amount of money. I just wrote a check 2 days ago to an animal rescue or the Humane Society in Tampa. I just have another animal rescue that we had. You know, we had these big storms in Florida, and I've actually taken classes to go volunteer to go on rescue expeditions to help animals that are abandoned during hurricanes or during tragedies. That's something I find it's so important to me. You know, when it comes to material things, you look back here and you say, okay, this was one of my main goals when I first was in it. I wanted a Mercedes-Benz convertible. Okay, and there it is, and it was a 500 SL. Love this car, and I not only got this car, I had it. It was sent over on a boat from Germany, and it was navy blue with parchment interior. I imagine what it looked like. I had it, a picture of it on the wall. I looked at it constantly, and then another goal of mine is up here. This is a motor coach. You know what a motor coach looks like? This one happens to have 2 slides where the sides go out. So I had one of those, but I ended up eventually getting one with 4 slides so that all 4 sides go out. Isn't that you know, I look at these things, I envision them. And, you know, you can see I love miniature things. You can see on the inside how it was laid out. And I mean, this is the life I wanted to design. So what I designed is I designed a home in Cincinnati, Ohio, because I'm from Ohio. I designed then a home on the water on an island off of Florida called Sanibel Island. So I had this beautiful 4,000 square foot home. I don't know if you know how big that is, but it's pretty big. Actually, it was 6,000 feet if you count the downstairs. And this was on the water in Sanibel on an acre of property. And then I had a big home in Cincinnati. It was 8,000 square feet. It was a historic home it was built from stone with the big turret and the wraparound porch. And then I eventually, you know, I've been in different homes since then, but this was part of my design. You know, I wanted to have a lifestyle where I could have this motor coach and I could travel around North America and I could work my business. So I could go into an area, I could stay there for a few weeks and build a business. And, you know, these are things that I had to think through. What kind of a life do I want to design? You know, I know people in this kind of, in network marketing that take a vacation 1 week out of every month. So 1 week out of every month, they're on holiday. And they design their year. They design how they want their life. They design how they want their month. They design how they want their weeks. They design where they're going to travel, what they're going to see. And then what you do, once you really figure this out, forget about cost. You figure out how you want your life to be. Then what you do is you calculate the cost. Okay, how much money per month am I going to need to be able to afford that kind of lifestyle? In other words, you don't have to buy the house, but you do have to make the payments and the insurance and all those utilities and whatever. But you don't have to actually buy the whole thing. You just have to be able to make the payments every month. So you calculate what kind of a house, research the houses. Research the houses. Go to a real estate place. Look at what the property is where you want it. And then look at what the property is if you want a second house, where that is. Go to a car dealership. Drive the car. Calculate what it'll cost. I used to go to motor coach showrooms. And I would get in them. I would feel it. I would taste it. I knew exactly what I wanted to have, how it was going to feel when I drove it. I would drive them. I would research the different manufacturers. I've had motor coaches, gosh, since 1994. So, I mean, I've had different ones. I moved myself up to the one I ultimately wanted, but I moved myself up and I travel and I see so many wonderful things in nature and see parts of the world that I might not have seen. At least there's so many beautiful things in North America to see. And then you design your life as well as whether you want to travel to other countries, to different parts of the world. Of course, that's part of the Jeunesse lifestyle when you do that, but you figure out the cost, okay? Then once you calculate the cost and you go, I went to motor coach shows so I could see all the latest ones, and to these exhibits, and I just tasted it, and I knew all the costs. And then you calculate, okay, this is what I need to be making every month. If I know what I need to be making, then I can determine what rank that I need to be in Jeunesse in order to be able to afford that. And then, okay, if I need to be at this position, how many people do I need to sponsor? Okay, how many people then do I need to show the business to? And then I go even a step higher. How many people do I need to talk to? Because that's the only thing I can control, is how many people I talk to. And I'll get a certain percentage of those that want to see the business, and a certain percentage of those that sign into the business, and then a certain percentage of those that do something. So I figured out my ratios, which told me how many people I need to talk to. That was the key. How many people I need to talk to? Where am I going to meet them? What am I going to do every day to go meet people? What reasons am I going to have to talk to people? How many referrals am I going to get? And so I calculated how much I would need to do to get to this position in the next 6 months or the next year, and or the different ranks I needed to get to as a stepping stone to the rank I was trying to get to. We all have stepping stones along the way. So I had a long range goal of 12 months, a shorter range goal of like 6 months, and then an even shorter range goal of 90 days. And then I break it down into weeks, days, and I knew every single day when I woke up exactly what I needed to do to get to where I wanted to be. It was that simple. You put the dream inside of you. You inspire yourself thinking, oh my gosh, could I really have this motor coach? Could I really have this car? Could I really have these houses? Could I really have this lifestyle? Could I really have my children in these schools? Could I really give the people I love this kind of experience? So I started to get so excited because the vision was clear. There was an old saying, if the dream is big enough, the facts don't count. So it doesn't matter where you are now. It doesn't matter where you live now. It doesn't matter how much money you have now. What matters is, what is your dream? And if it's big enough, it doesn't matter all the rest. Because once you figure out what's going to drive you, and then you figure out what your ratios are and how many people you have to talk to, that in itself will give you the goal, the dream, and the plan of action broke down as to what you need to do every day. And every day you wake up, you will be driven by the fact you have the vision of the dream in front of you 24 hours a day. I don't have these things just because they're cute. I have them because they were a reminder every single day to my subconscious, to my conscious, of what I wanted and what was driving me, the lifestyle that I hoped to have, that I knew I could have. It's not, dreams aren't limited to just certain people. Dreams are available to all of us. Everything is possible for all of us. We just have to dream it, plan it, and then do it. When I was in Africa, I was so inspired by Mapo because I do an opportunity presentation, and then she'd come up as a new Sapphire Elite, which was much more powerful than me. Because as a diamond, sometimes it's hard to relate to somebody that far up the ranks. But with Mapo, she was so great because she had owned a recruiting business. She had an office. She had a conventional business. And her husband, when she got into Jeunesse, her husband said to her, what do we have to lose? You don't need an office, so there's no overhead expenses. We don't have to pay rent. You don't need employees. We don't need a warehouse for inventory. We don't need to buy a truck to deliver product. There's no expenses. There's no real risk. And so she would stand up in front of an audience and she'd say, what do you have to lose? What do you have to lose? And I mean, it was so inspiring. And it was more inspiring coming from her than it would have been for me. And the last thing I want to mention is a sense of urgency. How important a sense of urgency is. You know, I think to myself, we just got hit by a hurricane. Okay, now when you know a hurricane is coming your way and you've only got like a couple days because it's coming, you know, and of course we didn't know whether it was going to hit us on the west side of Florida or everybody else on the east side of Florida. Of course, you know, we all worry about each other, but we would prefer the east side more than our side, the west side, and of course they would prefer the west side. But you know, this was such a monster storm. It covered the entire state. I mean, it was bigger than our state, this peninsula of a state. And so all of a sudden, you know, you're on a mission. You got to make sure you got water. You got to make sure you got food. You got to make sure you got batteries. You got to make sure you got flashlights. You got to make sure you got candles. You've got to have an exit strategy. You know, in the neighborhood I live in, everybody was putting up storm shutters to cover the windows. You know, we were really fortunate because 9 months ago, we had put up hurricane windows. So we had the whole window, all the windows replaced. So that was great because I can't imagine how claustrophobic you'd be with shutters covering every window. But people were doing that and people were helping each other. It was almost like I felt like I was in Amish country and they were raising barns or something because all the neighbors all do help you do your house, you help me do my house. But everybody was on a mission. And, you know, I was on a mission to make sure I had the right food. I had to have ice for cooler because we were going to lose electricity. You know, you had to make sure you had all of these things. And so it reminded me of how much you get done right before you're going on holiday. Have you ever noticed that when you're going on holiday, it's like you get more things done than ever because, you know, you're working, you know, 8 to faint to get everything done so that you can leave. Well, that's what it was with the storm. And it reminded me of how we should be when we really are driving for a goal. It's like you're on a mission. You have a list of things to do and you want to knock everything off that list as quick as you can because you gotta get out of the house or you got a hurricane coming or you've got to be ready to leave on that holiday and you got to have all these projects done and finished before you can leave. And so that's the kind of urgency. The kind of urgency that you're trying to get as much done every single day as you can. You don't get caught up in this, as we call it in lollygagging, you know, just taking your time. And you have to be so clear about what it is that you want. What is this dream? And how fast do you want it? How can you put an urgency on it? Because if you don't, it's like Jim Rohn used to say, if you don't act right now, when the desire is the strongest, then all of a sudden it's like you have this dissipation of that energy. And it's like intention starts to fade. And I mean, you can't get caught up in that. You have to be smarter than that. Just like you have to be smart about the people you hang out with, the people you associate with. If you take the 5 people you associate with and you divide their income by 5, what you're probably going to find is what their average income is what yours is. You've got to raise yourself up. You've got to raise your mind up. You've got to raise your dreams up. You've got to raise your action up. You've got to raise yourself up to another level to take yourself down this road to changing your life, to designing the kind of life that you want. So, you know, I love the Global Partners Group. I love our leadership. I think they're some of the best quality people you could ever be around. And I just want to encourage everyone to take some time, I don't care how long it takes, and sit down and say, am I just making a living? Because you could be making a living with Jeunesse and still not have everything you want because you're settling for this level of income. I want people to stop settling. I want people to raise up. I want them to design the life, not make a living. I want them to design the kind of life that's going to make them feel so good at their accomplishment, but it's going to make them feel so wonderful at what they've done to empower their family, change their family, you know, help the people they love. And in the process, sometimes we end up helping a lot of people that we end up loving as well in our business because we inspire them. We take them along with us. But, you know, I want to encourage everyone to sit down and really think, are you just making a living? Or are you designing a life? So with that, I'm going to pass it back to you, Malcolm. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Hold on. You know, I'm going to just spend a few moments, which I always do, to debrief. There's no question the business works. Absolutely none. And we can't say that, well, I'll give it a try, because for 8 years now, this business has spat out, has churned out some incredible stories of wealth creation. And I think what Paula said strikes home to me and to everybody, because throughout our lives, a lot of people go out there and say something like, I'll believe it when I see it. But the truth in nature is, the truth of everything that we know as human beings is, those who believed first indeed did see. Not if I see it, I believe it, but if you believe it enough, you'll see it. How many of you on this call, including myself, really spend time to visualize your goal? How many of you spend time to know exactly what it is that you want? I'll be totally honest, hand on heart, I can't say that I visualize everything. I do know some of the basic things that I want. I'm losing my eyesight, so I need to get a good residual income. I need to make sure that I take my mother to see the Taj Mahal. It's one of my big driving forces. Unfortunately, she's done her back in. That's why we cancelled going this weekend. I've got basic goals, but I can't clearly see an absolute picture the way Paul has put it. Can you? If you don't know where you're going, how are you going to, A, like where you end up, and B, know how to get there? If you can't clearly see the goal, how can you know what the path is? There is no question that the business works. The question is, what's going to motivate you and inspire you to work it? You know, I've had a lot of people who've joined our business and they're with us for a few months, and the next minute somebody's telling them a big story. And, you know, I said this on a post a couple of days ago. I can say it on this call. The grass always looks greener on the other side of the fence because it's got more fertilizer on it. I call it BS. I'm not going to use the exact words. You can tell exactly what I'm saying. People always try and say it's a better deal somewhere else. But here are the facts. Jeunesse Global is the fastest growing company in the history of mankind in direct marketing. No question. No if or but or maybe. We did $1 billion in sales in the 6th year. Only 5 other companies in the history of mankind, have done that. You know all this. Facebook, Apple, Amazon, eBay, Google. And yet people are thinking, well, this doesn't work for us. Let's go somewhere else. So I think it's because most people don't spend enough time knowing where they're going, what they want out of this. I believe everyone can get whatever they want out of this if they know where they're going. So what Paula talks about is that, think about as a business, and this is something that I've not spent enough time on myself. I don't spend enough time talking to business people about the feature benefits of what we've got. What happens is most people go out there and tell the story, and it's all hype driven. You're really fired up, and your intention is to sign the person up. That's what you want to do. I want to get them in at the ambassador pack. I want to get them in so I can get some points and get my $300. And then that person comes on board. We spent no time with them asking them what it is that they want. What do you want out of this business? How would you like to be able to work with us? How many hours do you want to put into it? And reminding them consistently that this takes time. It's a 3 to 5 year plan. It takes 4 to 5 years to become an accountant or a doctor, to become wealthy, to become someone who can succeed in a business like ours, to learn what you need to do, to run large organizations, to get the income that you want. It's going to take you 3 to 5 years. I think it's a great session. You can hear my voice. I don't have the energy and the power I normally have right now, but it certainly struck home. I am guilty of saying that I don't spend enough time visualizing, and it's something that I've got out of that. My next guest is someone who comes from a crew that really understand what Paul has just said. They understand visualization. They are driven. They are jumping to a drumbeat that I have not seen for over 25 years. They are doing things that are blowing apart this business worldwide. They were second highest in the increase in turnover that they actually achieved in their country. In their country, their internet is not what we have today. And my guest who's joined us today, this is her third time who's going to share with us a country where people are on fire, a country where you can't use credit cards, a country where people are coming in and blowing this business apart. It is my privilege and my absolute pleasure, third time lucky, to have with us today Jennifer Nawa, calling from Zambia. Jennifer's going to share with you a little bit about her background, how she heard about Jeunesse, and really what she's been doing and what they're up to in this wonderful place called Zambia. Jennifer, my guest from Zambia, I'm just going to unmute you if we can. You need to unmute yourself, Jennifer, after all that. Okay, bear with me, everybody, while we get this sorted out. Quick step. Jennifer, you need to use your mouse and unmute yourself, my dear. You're muted on the call. Okay, we got her on the call. There we go. Excellent. Over to you.
Thank you, Malcolm. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to be on call. And I'm very excited. We've been trying. This is the third time that I'm coming on the call. I joined Jeunesse in March this year, 2017. My background is that of an employee. I worked for an international bank for 22 years. And right now, I have nothing to show that I worked for all those years. I started my business with borrowed money. The business was growing, and my debts also were growing, to the extent that I reached a stage where I started failing to pay back the loan. I raised my red flag with my bank, telling them that I was in trouble and I needed help. I needed to refinance the business, but the bank did not listen to me. They decided the time was up and they wanted their money back. So I had put my house as collateral for my loans, and they called in the loan. And this happened recently, in February, actually, this year. So when Jeunesse came, for me, it was like, it was just meant for me, because I had gone through all these problems and the bank was not there to help me out. Instead, they forced me to sell the only asset that I had. And that asset is the house which I lived in. I had to dispose of that property to pay back the loan. So you can imagine the anger that I had. So when Jeunesse came, my sister invited me. Actually, my young sister is my upline. She invited me to a meeting. She said, I think you may like what I've just come across, but I'm not going to tell you anything. Just come and attend the presentation, which was being presented by Dr. Nelly. So I attended the meeting. I was listening very carefully. I listened, and after the meeting, I told myself that this is my time. I liked what I heard, and I need to look at it on my own. I went online and researched further. I looked at the business, I looked at the products, I looked at the compensation plan, and that made sense to me. And you see, in my position, I just lost my house. just within the same month that Janice came, I just lost my property. So I told myself that the strongest iron is the one that goes through heat. So I had been passed through the heat. I had actually been in that heat for a period of time. So it was time for me to make a decision. Is this bank going to break me? I said, no, the bank is not going to break me. I do have options. An opportunity had just come. So let me go for it. I have nothing to lose. I looked at the business. There was no risk. And I told myself that here, the only risk will be myself if I don't join this company, this business. So I was motivated because I wanted to show myself that I had the ability to change my life. And I wanted to show the bank that what they had done was nothing, greater things were there to come. So I ran like crazy. I started talking to people. I started every meeting that was called, I was there. Every training that was there, I was there. So I started just talking to people, recruiting people. You know, I used my situation. It was the truth. It had just happened, and the anger was still in me. I had to remove the anger, and I put a motivation. I thought, I think I had to go through this process, you know, to move forward. So Janice, to me, came, the timing was very good. It came when I was in need of something to change my life, to change my position. So I looked at the starting amount. I looked at both options. There was founder package and also basic. So when I looked at the founder package, I realized that I was going to get more products. I was going to get more points. And I would have a chance to also participate in, as a founder, you've got a chance of actually taking part into the 2% that Janice offers to countries like Africa. You can participate in the 2% of shareholding. So for me, the founder package made a lot of sense, and I joined on a founder package. So from there, I've not looked back. I've been talking to my prospects. I try to give them, you know, examples. I even go to the extent of saying, look, you have $300, I would say it in dollars, $370, which is about 3,700 kwacha in my local currency in an account. When you look at that amount, how much interest are you earning on it? Here you've got a choice to either leave that money on an account. I appreciate here we don't have credit cards. Everything you do, you have to put money up front. So here you are, you've got this money on your account, which is earning you literally nothing. So why can't you use this money to start a business that is going to create an income, extra income? And there is no risk. There are no overheads. You are in control of the business yourself. And the failure or success of this business depends on you. No one is going to do it for you. If you're willing to learn, and I think it's very easy, internet is there, you just Google. I joined more or less at the same time with my upline. I knew that she knew more or less the same things that I had just come across. So I didn't want to waste time, waiting to be taught. I decided to take it upon me to start learning. I was spending a lot of money on internet, to make sure that every time I've got bundles, I need to search, I need to read, I need to listen to some videos. I need to convince myself that I've made the right decision. And for me, right now, I have no regrets. I am enjoying Janice. I am living Janice. And I'm going to do whatever it takes to achieve my goals. And my why has been very deep. Never, ever to borrow again. That is my why. So Malcolm, it's a great pleasure for me to be on this call to share where I'm coming from and where I'm going.
I'm not going to let you go that easily, young lady. We haven't finished with you yet. Because what you've said is quite extraordinary, and I want to make sure everyone understands it. And I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, if I may, Jennifer. When you were talking about a business and you lost money, that was another business where you'd borrowed money. You worked in the bank for 22 years. You borrowed the money. You put your house as collateral, and the bank called it in. We always say in the West, banks give you umbrellas when the sun is shining, and they take the umbrella back when it's raining. That's normally how banks make money. So you lost the house, and so you were looking. I want everyone to understand what happened. So you went there to this meeting, and then you saw this business, and you said some very, very interesting things that I want everyone to understand. First of all, you surmised, as someone working in a banking environment for 22 years, in your opinion, that there was no risk because it was a proven business vehicle. You also surmised that there were no overheads because you could do this working on a very slow, small budget. And you also, most importantly, have said on this call that you were in control, and that's what you tell people. I'd like you to share with everybody, because you haven't done that yet, when you started, from the time that you started, I'd like you to share, please, what did you do when you spoke to people? What was your approach to people, and how long did it take you to become an executive in Jeunesse Global? Before you do that, I'd like to remind everybody, in a country where there are no credit cards, we had Jennifer coming in. She came in as a founder, which cost her over $2,000 in total. But she is someone, astute person working in a bank, believed that rather than that money sitting in a bank, she was going to use that to actually run a business on her own. So share with everybody, you got started. How did you approach people? What did you say to them? And how long did it take you to become a sapphire in our business? How did you go about doing that, Jennifer?
My approach was very simple because I had facts. I would tell my prospect about Janice's business, that it was risk-free, it has no overheads, and it was cheap to start. So when you talk about a business, I've started a business before, and actually this is the cheapest business that I've ever started. Because whenever you start a business, there are so many overheads. And for you to just put the business in place, it takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of money. So for this business, for me, it was very, very, very affordable. And that you are the driver. Janice has given me a vehicle. And it's me who is going to sit in that vehicle to drive it to wherever I want to go. So this is what I've been telling my prospects, that you can either choose to park your car or sit in it and drive it to any destination that you want to go to. Because you have this chance of doing it and no one is going to stop you. It's up to you. I'm not forcing you to join, but just look at the facts that I've given you, you have the money sitting in a bank, which is going to earn you nothing, and you have a business which you can do, which is going to grow your business. So for the people that I was talking to, most people joined. They joined, and I moved on. I just kept going. And so far, for now, I can even say in Zambia, timing also is important. There are certain months in Zambia that you can't do business because of certain, like if it's a month that school fees are being paid, you even know that, the priority here is this. So when Janice came on my doorstep, the timing was great. And the timing was great for everybody. Whoever I was talking to, the timing was good. And they had money, they were able to join the business. Over to you, Marco.
Just very quickly, how long did it take you to become a Sapphire?
It took me 2 months. It took me 2 months to become Sapphire.
So from a standing start, knowing the basics, just with vision, belief, and passion, you went out there and you spoke to people. Most of them joined because of the fire in your belly, and you became a Sapphire in 2 months. That is quite extraordinary.
Yes, Malcolm.
So Jennifer, I'd like to say thank you so much. That was our 3rd attempt. Jennifer and I have been talking for the last 3 weeks now. And I said, Jennifer, this business is about persistence. We've got to prove that this is all about never giving up. And she said, you're right. And the last week she came on, the first week, we got her online, and then the line died. Last week we got her on, the line died. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest today, who's an inspiration, I'm sure, to every single person watching this video, Jennifer, calling in from Zambia. I think you're absolutely legendary, and I look forward to meeting you at one of our events, either in Africa or when you come to Europe. It's a fantastic story, and I think a lot of people online here, you've just blown away a lot of their excuses, and I thank you for that. Thank you, Jennifer, for joining us. So many interesting things that Jennifer's talked about. Let me just mute her call. And time for us to reflect a little bit. You see, what this lady is showing everybody on this call is really a personification of what leadership does here. Like I said, and I'm repeating myself, repetition is a key here. You've got to listen to information at least 6 times before you own it. And if you can listen to it and act on it, it's even better. Jennifer is living proof for what this business can do for you. There is no question that the business works. The question is, what's going to make you work it? What is your desire? Paula Pritchard came online and started talking about visualization and being able to design your life. Jennifer's design was very simple. She just lost her house. She just lost what she had worked for 22 years of her life. She worked at this and realized there was nothing to show for it. She had a reason. And I'm going to give you a piece of advice, everyone on this call right now. She's living proof that we're looking for people who are looking. You should write that down. We're not in the convincing business. We're in the sorting business. The timing isn't always right for everybody. You can go to someone, and at that time, in that space in their life, they're not open to what we're saying. But there are tens of thousands, tens of millions of people like Jennifer Nauer sitting there in 150 countries around the world waiting for your call. And so what you've got to tell yourself is, as Paula has said, A, you've got to have the vision. You've got to know what you want out of this business. B, you've got to have a plan of action. C, you've got to know the numbers. And D, you've got to have a system. And I think that that lady's contribution today has been inspirational. I think it's wonderful because she's proved that this is the 3rd time. I called her again today. I said, today we're going to get you on. I'd like you all, please, again, one more time, thank and respect and really appreciate Jennifer Nauer calling in today. I think your story is very inspirational, and you've really, really fired me up and a lot of people online. Thank you so much for joining us, Jennifer. Excellent. Okay, let's move on, if we can, to my next guest. And my next guest is someone who has, without fail, for the last 18 months, I've been running this call. In fact, it's longer now. Every Sunday, I come on and I make phone calls to make sure that we can get a good call put together for all of you to get information. And with really great respect, I'd like to introduce you to my next guest. I have a core group of people that have supported this call over the last year and a half. Rolandos, Andriani, Dan Parks, Oliver, several people who've helped out. But Dan is one of these individuals that has been a legend, because I can call Dan up 10 minutes before I get a call and I say, Dan, I need something from you as a contribution, because I need to make sure that I can fill in the gaps on the call. As a host of this call, I have to make sure that the content is correct. I have to make sure that the delivery of the individuals that are coming online is going to work. And I have to make sure that we have the personalities that are going to complement each other's call. And no one better to help you to get information than Dan Parks, calling in from Tennessee. And he's going to talk to you about a very important component that is the thread that is run throughout this call. It's called mindset. Dan Parks in Tennessee.
Malcolm, you're always so kind. I
can't hear you.
Can you hear me now, Malcolm?
Slight technical glitch there. Can't hear you, Dan.
Can you hear me now?
Nope.
I can hear Dan. I can hear him fine.
Okay.
We'll take a little breather while we wait for Dan to join us. We can't hear you, Dan.
Malcolm can't hear us, but everyone else can hear us.
Yeah, Dan, I can
hear you.
You're great.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, we have a slight gremlin here. We can't hear you, Dan.
No, actually, Paula can hear me and everyone else can, but you can't.
You can hear him. I can't hear him. Okay, that's great. Sorry, it must be me. I can't hear you. Okay, so I'll pass it on to
you. Then this is my opportunity, Malcolm, to really say great things. I'm so grateful to be a part of this. And obviously, Paula is just someone to listen to. And Jennifer, too, is another one to just like, what a way to really start your week ahead, to have these stories. And it's funny how we'll sit on these calls and hear things, and you always kind of, at least for me in this industry and for the years I've done this, I've always kind of rolled my eyes about hearing certain things and hearing them until I really realize how true they are. Paula talked about visualization and how that works, and I used to hear that. In business, I never did that. I just drove business. I did look at numbers. I did look at feedback to build my business traditionally. But in this industry, it's a little bit different. And so when she said about visualization, and she showed her stuff, I have two vehicles that I visualized. This, I actually own my Mercedes now. And the last one I did about a year ago was Alfa Romeo came out with a two-seater, which I just got recently. So visualization does work. And I certainly would say to write down your goals and your visualizations. I think that the interesting part about this business, and I think I see it in my teams as well as myself too, is that we become, we want to compete with other people. In other words, we look at someone else rank advancing, and because we've not advanced, and at the end of the day, you haven't advanced is up to you. It's not your team. It's not other people around. It's this business is in your head and in your hands to grow and build. And I think what happens is people become angry. They become desperate. And some phrases I've learned, are you in this? Are you doing this because of desperation or inspiration? And so these types of calls that Malcolm do should hopefully drive some real inspiration into your business and help you begin to get far more inspired to see what other people are doing and see the ability to know that you can do this as well. I wanted to talk today about something that I think that sometimes we lose. And I think, honestly, for myself at least, really building this step into my daily life has really changed my mindset. And it's really helped me to be better at learning the business, at learning the skills, and also taking, as Paula said, the ups and downs of this business, because this business is a roller coaster. It's an emotional business. And as an entrepreneur, your toughest struggle in this business is yourself, is what you set on yourself for expectations and such. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about what I believe is a really important component of this that can really help you weather the storms, and that's gratitude. I know that in this business, I've heard it from people like Paula too is a great example. her sponsor quit or left, and she had to start going upline to find people that she could work with. So I'm sure that out there's people thinking, well, if I had a sponsor like Paula, or if I had a sponsor like Malcolm, or if I had a sponsor like Oliver or Mapo or whoever, I could do better. Well, that's not true, because at the end of the day, it's up to you. It's not your sponsor that's going to build your business. Your sponsor can help guide you, but at the same time, if your sponsor's not, find someone else above them or beside you that can help give you that direction. So at the end of the day, you absolutely must be grateful for the person that sponsored you. The first company I was in, which was the same one that Paula was in, which was the first time I met her or heard of her, my sponsor quit 2 months afterwards. That didn't stop me. I went on and kept going. But that sponsor of mine, I'm to this day totally grateful to Nita, because she opened my mind and opened the doors for me to take advantage of this opportunity in this business and to change my life. And more than that, to help me change other people's lives. So I'm very grateful to her. So never forget to be grateful for your sponsor, whether they help you or they don't, whether they leave the business or they are with you the rest of the time you're in the industry. Just always keep that gratitude. And I'm grateful for Carrie. She like Paula too. They kick me. I'm a very hard-headed person. As they say, you can't grow grass on a busy street. You can't grow grass in rock. So clearly I'm a very hard-headed person, but they really have opened my eyes and have kept me accountable to grow. So the next thing is why. Why should you be grateful? You should always be grateful because the door has been opened for you. And every person that you talk to, if you have a gratitude mindset, the conversation that you have in that kind of a mindset is you're grateful for what they're saying, but it also helps you open your mind to listen for the things that they're looking for. It takes you out of the picture, and it makes you someone that's listening and is a sponge, and that can later come back and have the conversation because your mind is open when you're grateful. So the next thing is what I call the journey of gratitude. Being grateful helps empower you to become better, because with each step you take, you're grateful for it, and you're not expecting, you're not demanding it. You're grateful because it's another step forward. And don't ever be confused about gratitude and goals. Goals help drive you to your dream, but it's the gratitude that allows you to open your eyes and experience the journey that you're taking to get to that goal and to get to that dream. That's so important. It also opens your mind to learn. It opens your mind to be criticized. Part of this business is taking criticism. I've had it from Carrie. I've had it from other people where they've said, hey, you're not doing this right. If you're not grateful for these things, then you can't take the criticism and step back and say, you know what, I do need to change that. So it really opens you to become a better person and to grow better from those criticisms. And they're not meant to be bad. They're meant to help you grow to be better. Because I think in this industry, what people miss is this industry is about becoming a better you. Jim Rohn said it the best. In order to have more, you must become more. And that's part of that growing and gratitude world. The ways that I think have really changed my journey in this business is what I do every day, and I do it twice a day. Every night before I go to bed, I write down 3 things I'm grateful for that day. And it could be anything: taking a breath of air, meeting a new prospect, even having someone say no to me. I'm grateful for that. And then in the morning, I wake up, and the first thing I do when I'm journaling is I read those 3 things from the night before. And there's something about going to bed with that mindset and those things on your mind, and waking up and being reminded of them in the morning just continues to open. And I literally have I've been with this company for 3 years, and I have 3 gratitude journals that one day when I'm no longer here, my children will be able to go back and look at my life and see all the things I was grateful for over my life in this journey. So really an important personal thing, but I can't tell you how important gratitude is. And there were some things I've shared before, some of my journey with my father, who was a very influential businessman that really helped me grow to be a very good businessman. But before he died, there was something he told me that to this day, and it's been 14 years now, I remember it every day. And every day in my journal and my gratitudes, I remember those same words. And that is, in this journey, what is important about the people that you sponsor, the people in your team. They're not with you because what you're doing, they're with you because of who you are. You know, if you're a genuine and authentic person and you care about them and you want to see them be successful, that's what's important to your team. It's not as important of what you're doing, but it's who you are. And I can't stress how important that is. All these other things are all part of becoming and doing. But for me, I'm a network marketer. That's what I do. But who I am is someone who genuinely cares about people. I want to see my team succeed. I want to see my team walk across the stage. I want to see my team become better people. That's who I am. And that's more of a guiding purpose for me than being a Ruby director. Does that make sense? I hope that does. So with that, Malcolm, you know, I'm going to give it back to you because there's been such amazing speakers. I can't even begin to get in their realm at all.
Okay, I knocked out my power supply on my speakers. I can hear you. If you just like to mute the call and we start winding up, I think there are a couple of very important things to cover. I think, first of all, this call was a unique call. We have unique calls every single week, and I want to talk to you about a few things, if I can, as we wind up. First, next Sunday, there won't be a call. I'm not going to do a call next week because I've got several things that I've got to do with my family, and I'm going to get other people to try and take over. I need to just mute, if I can, my lovely lady Jennifer, because her dog's in the background. We can hear them. And I just want to spend a bit of time with you as friends. I've been doing this call now for 18 months, as you probably know, every Sunday, and I love doing the call. And I want to share with you why and give you a few more bits of information that will help you with your businesses. I do the call selflessly. I do the call so that it helps people from every team. It doesn't matter whose team it is. It can be Dan's team. It can be the South African team. It can be the Greek team. It can be the Cypriot team. It can be a Philippines team. It really doesn't matter. And we do these calls because we really need to have a meeting point at the end of every week. If I had the mentality that this is mine and this is my information, I must keep it to myself, then I wouldn't go and share what I do every week on the Sunday calls. In fact, the PowerPoint that I had, I shared it openly with Paula, and I said to Paula, she's welcome to use it. She liked it. She's welcome to use it. She's my sponsor. And she knows, and I know as leaders in this business, that we need to share information for growth because we have to make sure that we get success around us. I want people in Impo's team to be very successful. I want people in Harold Ampos's team to be very successful. I want Rolandos and Andriani to have diamonds in their teams. It's success breeds success. And we get into a mentality on these calls, well, this is my team, that's his team. Why do I do this and why do I do that? I refuse to be part of that stinking thinking. I'm not going to be part of that. What I'm going to do is to ask people who are Sapphires and above to come and contribute on this call. I think it is absolutely critical for us to have this call. This call is designed to the future Paula Pritchards, the future Rolandoses, the future Malcolms, the future Impos, the future Olivers, the future Dans, those people who have a spark, who have just seen something, a potential for them to change their lives. We are responsible for being the catalysts that help these people on a path. You can't put a price on that. That success that you give those people with information that you share with them, it's not because you came on and you did it 6 times and nobody else did, or I came on for 18 months every Sunday. The fact of the matter is, I do believe passionately in the law of karma. I want to talk to you about 2 more things that are very important. First of all, it's about leadership. You know, we have a lot of talkers in this kind of industry. People who are selfie crazy, who want to tell everybody how great they are, what they're going to do, how they're going to do it. We have it all the time. Before the selfie was famous, we used to have people telling us on the calls, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. What you've got to do is to look at leadership that is actually walking the walk that you want to walk. You want to ask yourself a few questions. The leadership that you follow or the leadership that you're supposed to be, when's the last time you recruited someone and recognized them on the GPG pages? When's the last time you recognized an executive? When is the last time that you built a team or you recognized a Jade or you recognized a Pearl? If you take a good look at what's happening in the Cypriot team, we have a plethora. We have a lot of new people who are being recognized, Jades and Pearls. There is momentum. There is a march. People are getting excited and moving. We don't have that everywhere because it takes some teams longer to fire up than other teams. So leadership, as you heard from Paula Pritchard today, is this. It's not a question about whether you like the person that brought you in or not. You wouldn't be in this business at this time with that line of sponsorship. We have a situation taking place in this industry of poaching where people are taking people. I would like to say on this live call today that this company has superb software in place. And if anyone decides to start moving lines and stuff like that, we know who you are and you will be thrown out of this business. It's a big price for you to pay. We are looking for people who are serious. We're looking for people who are ambitious, and we're looking for people who are game changers. We are not the greatest leaders, let me tell you that. All of us, including Paula, will tell you. There are people who are going to be 10 times bigger than all of us, waiting to be found. They're waiting for a call from people like yourselves. Leadership is know the way, go the way, and show the way. And it's up to you to be the leader, the person that carries that torch. The torch that you carry is going to light thousands of candles. You may not be happy that you're the only one making contributions every Sunday, but what you're doing is you're changing one person's life, and that will come back to you 10,000-fold in different ways. If I was to think that way, I wouldn't come on these calls every Sunday. I've got things to do. I've got things to, my own teams to work with. I could close my calls off, but I choose to make sure that we share with everybody. I want to finish my call with a very important thing. Everyone seems to forget that this is one of the most powerful business plans ever. It's been designed by a lady who really is a mathematician and understands how to leverage money. We have a plan here that is a binary plan with a multi-level plan. I call it a hybrid plan. You should make notes. It's a hybrid plan. And that's why some people struggle with this plan. They may have come from a background of Herbalife or Amway like I did many, many years ago, or other network marketing programs that are level plans. And their mindset is based on that way of building. But this is so much more powerful. This is so much bigger, which is why we are spitting out more wealth creation than any other business in history. And I believe we're going to break every record there is. So I'm going to take a deep breath and explain to you the fundamentals of this business. The fundamentals of the Jeunesse business are the binary. We get paid with binary cycles. We qualify through binary cycles. We actually get matching checks on binary cycles. If you do not understand how to create momentum and binary cycles, you're going to get stagnation in this business. Let me give you an example. For you to become a Sapphire Elite, you need 100 cycles. For you to become a Ruby, you need 200 cycles. For you to become an Emerald, you need 500 cycles. And for you to become a Diamond, you need 1,000 cycles for 2 consecutive months. So cycles are absolutely critical to the way that we build this business. I have a question for everybody on this call. Do you actually understand how to maximize and generate cycles? We also get matching checks. We get those matching checks on cycles. We don't get the matching checks on the packs that are sold. We don't get the matching checks on what level people come in at. We get checks on cycles. And cycles are down to 3 things. They're down to having a system that people can follow, taking people through an information gathering process. We get cycles to the duplication of that system, of those people who follow a system that works, not someone who says, well, I've got a degree in marketing, I've got a degree in being a doctor or an accountant. Well, you can have a degree in being an accountant, but you can't carry out brain surgery because that's a completely different profession. What I'm trying to put across to yourself is it's a learning process. You have to understand how this all works. And those people who make it in this industry, who stay with us and work with us, understand the power of the binary. Let me explain to you a few other things. The binary is infinite. In every network marketing business I've been involved with for over 30 years now, and I've been a diamond in 3 separate businesses, or diamond level, if you like, including my last one, blue diamond with Amiga. We work with levels, but the binary was also part of that business, and it didn't pay as much as it pays over here. The binary is infinite levels deep. So I'm going to give you a quick example before I call it a day. You see, people tend to forget. They say, well, Malcolm, people are coming in and they're leaving, or people don't stay in the business very long. I'm going to tell you why they don't stay very long. They don't stay very long because they don't see any action below them. I want you to imagine that you're somebody that understands how to build a binary. You're somebody that understands how to work through groups. You're somebody that understands how to build down as well as wide. And you create momentum in your business. Remember what I said. system, duplication, and multiplication. Imagine you created a line like this. And what happens is you bring somebody online. I'm just going to create a quick example. You bring Malcolm on board before this line is created, and he comes and joins you. Within the next 72 hours, these next 3 people join his team. Within the next week, there's another 8, 10, 15, 20 people that he can see in his back office. These people are coming through because people understand how to build the binary. Malcolm comes into the business. He's brand new. He looks in his back office, and 72 hours later, 3 people he sees on his right side or his left side. 4 days later or 5 days later, that's become 10 people or 15 people. I have a question for all of you. Do you think Malcolm is excited? Do you think Malcolm believes that there's a business to be had over here? I believe that he does. When Malcolm starts seeing 15, 20, 35 people coming on board, and Malcolm starts seeing points coming because he bought a pack, Malcolm now realizes that he's got a situation of fear of loss. Malcolm can see 20,000 points or 5,000 points, and he now knows when you talk to him that that really is money waiting to be mined. Write that down. It's money waiting to be mined. And when Malcolm gets into action and begins to understand how to also build a binary, he can start creating that momentum on the other side. I believe a challenge that has taken place, and I was talking to several people about this, is that they know how to recruit a lot of people, which is a great thing. We need to do that. It is the lifeblood of our business. We have to bring new people in on a regular basis. But I ask you also to think carefully about how you teach your people how to place people in your binary and how to drive your businesses deep. Like I said before, I want you to put yourself in the position of Malcolm. Malcolm comes into the business and he's there. If he doesn't see any activity below him in the next 3 or 4 days, how is Malcolm going to get fired up about building this business? But what if in the next 3 days, Malcolm sees 6, 7, 10, 11 people that have spilled over into his team? Do you think Malcolm is going to be fired up? Do you think Malcolm's going to leave the business? I'm going to leave you with this thought. If Malcolm has 200 people who have dropped into his binary from spillover because everybody is understanding how to build this business, do you think Malcolm is going to leave this business? I'm going to tell you something, he's not. And do you believe that if we went back to him to say, you can go mining because all that money that you see right now, you can cash it and let me tell you what it's worth. Do you think that might motivate the person to build their business? As I wind up my call, I'd say that next Sunday, there won't be a call. I've spoken to Mark McDonald. Mark will be helping me to come on one of these calls. And I want to leave you with a few thoughts. Over this period of the last 18 months, I have managed to be, I'm grateful that I have found Greg Sorrell and Kelly Sorrell, the inventors of Instant Liaisons, twice on the calls. I've had Yolanda Holston twice on the calls. My own effort, I've gone and found them, I've invited them. With the help of Paula Pritchard, I had the lady who wrote Go for No. And I believe that very shortly we have other guests that are going to join us. I ask all of you to think carefully over this next week as we go towards Milan, to start thinking about what this call can do for you and your teams. We're looking for Sapphires to recognize them on this call. It gives them a podium to develop their skills. They can be recognized because people who don't know who they are, deep down in the organization, can see their leadership. The call inspires and motivates people. And let me tell you this, you may be doing 10 or 15 sessions like Rolandos, Andriani, and Dan do. But I'm sure you also realize that in the future, you will have one person that will come on this call that can transform not just your business, but could transform your life. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, everybody. I'm looking forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time on the call. Hopefully, I'll have Mark McDonald on the call. To my guest, last of all, I've had the lovely Paula who's come online. I think she's probably offline right now. We've lost Jennifer, which is just as well that because she managed to do what I wanted her to do. And Dan Parks, really one of the great, great supporters of my Sunday call. It's my pleasure and my privilege to serve you on a Sunday. I'll see you all in 2 weeks' time. Good night, everybody, and see you in 2 weeks' time. Good night.